Let me tell you something straight. If you don't set boundaries, you don't get respect. People, especially men, value what they can't easily take for granted. The truth is, the way you train people to treat you is by what you allow, what you stop, and what you walk away from. And if you're tired of being overlooked, underappreciated, or taken advantage of, then it's time to draw some lines that can't be crossed. Boundaries don't push people away. They filter out the wrong ones and attract the right ones. And I'm going to show you the exact boundaries that make a man not just notice you, but respect you. Time is one of the most valuable things you own, and yet it's the one thing most people give away for free without even realizing it. Think about it. When you let a man take your time without giving anything meaningful back, what you're really saying is, my life is wide open, and I don't mind if you waste it. And once he feels that, once he knows he can have your hours, your evenings, your weekends, your best years, without putting in the same investment, you've already lost ground. Because a man respects what costs him something. And your time, that should cost him. See, men will always test what's available. It's not even about being manipulative. It's just how human nature works. If something is always there, always accessible, always ready on their schedule, it stops feeling valuable. If he knows you'll pick up the phone every time he calls, even if it's 2 a.m, he won't see it as an honor that you answered. He'll see it as a habit. If he knows you'll clear your calendar at the last minute because he suddenly decided he wants to see you, he won't respect your flexibility. He'll expect it. And the expectation will kill the respect. But when you start protecting your time, you start sending a very different message. You're telling him, my life is full, my schedule matters, and if you want to be part of it, you better bring something worth my attention. That doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you valuable. Because when you treat your time like it's precious, he learns to treat it that way too. He learns that being with you isn't guaranteed. It has to be earned. And believe me, nothing makes a man step up faster than realizing you don't just give your time away to anyone. Some of you are listening right now and thinking, but what if I love being around him? What if I just want to be available? And I get that. But here's the truth: love without boundaries turns into desperation, and desperation turns into disrespect. A man cannot value you if you show him your time means nothing. You can care for him, you can want to see him, but you must always keep the balance. Because if you don't, he won't see your availability as love. He'll see it as a lack of self-respect. Protecting your time doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean ignoring him just to make him chase you. It means having priorities that you stick to. It means keeping your commitments to yourself and not dropping everything the moment he calls. It means showing him that while you enjoy his company, your world doesn't stop spinning just because he's around. And that's the kind of energy men value, because it tells them you are complete on your own. And here's the secret: when a man knows you're not sitting around waiting, he starts moving with more intention. He plans dates instead of hanging out. He respects your schedule because he knows you won't bend it for anything less than real effort. He stops wasting your time because he knows it's the one thing he can't get back once it's gone. The moment you start valuing your time, you raise the standard for how he approaches you. And when you raise the standard, you raise the respect. Because a man who knows he has to invest to be part of your life is a man who will think twice before taking you for granted. Your time is not cheap, so stop giving it away like it is. Self-respect is the foundation of every boundary you set. Without it, none of the others hold up. The way you carry yourself, the way you talk about yourself, and the way you allow others to treat you, it all stems from how much respect you have for who you are. A man notices it instantly. He might not say it out loud, but he feels it. If you carry yourself with dignity, he moves differently around you. If you talk down to yourself, laugh at yourself in ways that cut deep, or let him speak to you in tones that belittle you, he registers that too. And whether you realize it or not, You're teaching him how to treat you by the example you set with yourself. See, if you don't respect yourself, he won't either. It's that simple. You can't demand something from someone else that you don't even give yourself. If you constantly put yourself down, accept crumbs instead of real effort, or let someone's validation dictate how you feel about your worth, then what you're really saying is, I'm not sure I'm worth more than this. And people, especially men, will rise or sink to the level you show them you expect. But when you walk in self-respect, it's undeniable. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to scream it. It shows up in the way you speak, in the way you look someone in the eye, in the way you don't let just anyone get close to you. It's in your posture, in your tone, in the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am and I don't need you to confirm it. That energy is magnetic. A man sees that and he knows instantly, this is someone I can't play with. Now, don't confuse self-respect with arrogance. This isn't about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about knowing you're not less than anyone else. There's a big difference. Arrogance pushes people away, but self-respect draws the right people in. Because when you respect yourself, you make it easier for others to respect you. You create an atmosphere where a man understands that if he wants to be part of your life, he has to step correctly. And here's where so many people slip up. They think love means tolerance. They think if they just overlook disrespect, if they just keep giving the benefit of the doubt, if they just stay patient long enough, he'll change. But every time you let something slide that chips away at your self-respect, you're not showing love, you're showing that your standards are negotiable, and a man will only respect a standard that doesn't move. When you hold self-respect, you don't argue about it. You don't have to lecture a man about how to treat you. You let your presence, your reactions, and sometimes your silence speak for you. If he crosses a line, you don't need to shout, you just don't tolerate it. You don't stay in spaces that dishonor you. You don't laugh off words that wound you. You don't let his moods or his actions dictate how you see yourself, because your respect for you is not up for discussion. And what happens when you stand firm in that? A man feels it. He may test it, but if you don't bend, he learns. He adjusts. He steps up. Because deep down, men want to know the woman beside them is someone they have to honor, not someone they can walk over. And the way you teach him that is not by begging for respect, but by living it. When you respect yourself, you set the tone for every relationship you're in. And a man who sees you value yourself will have no choice but to value you too. Your emotional energy is one of the most expensive currencies you'll ever spend. And here's the problem. Too many people give it away like it's unlimited. You pour your heart out, you try to fix someone, you chase after love that isn't being returned, and before you know it, you're drained. You're left empty, frustrated, questioning yourself, while the other person hasn't even noticed the cost it took on you. That's what happens when you don't set boundaries around your emotional energy. You end up bankrupt in a relationship where only one person is depositing. A man values what he has to earn. If you give your emotions freely without any balance, without any filter, then you're training him to believe that your love, your support, your attention is something he doesn't have to work for. And the truth is, people don't respect what comes too easy. If you're always there to comfort him, always there to encourage him, always pouring into him while he's giving you the bare minimum in return, he won't suddenly wake up one day and say, wow, I should really appreciate this. No. He'll adjust to it, expect it, and take it for granted. Protecting your emotional energy means recognizing that not everyone deserves full access to it. It's not about shutting people out. It's about giving in proportion to what you're receiving. Relationships are about exchange, not exhaustion. And when a man sees that you don't just hand over your heart to anyone, when he realizes that your emotional support is something that has to be matched, he respects it. He knows he can't keep taking without giving because you won't allow it. Some of you are listening and thinking, But if I hold back, won't I seem cold? Won't he think I don't care? And the answer is no, because you're not withholding love, you're protecting your balance. There's a difference between caring for someone and carrying someone. If you're doing all the emotional heavy lifting, if you're constantly fixing his moods, picking up the pieces of his mistakes, or making excuses for his behavior, then you're not loving him, you're draining yourself. And eventually, that kind of one-sided effort destroys both the relationship and your own sense of worth. When you start protecting your emotional energy, you begin to see who's really there for you. A man who values you won't let you pour everything out without pouring back in. He won't let you give endlessly without giving you stability, peace, and security in return. And if he doesn't, then the boundary has to be clear. You step back. You stop giving the deepest parts of yourself to someone who can't even meet you halfway. Think of it this way: your emotional energy is like fire. When used right, it warms, it lights, it creates life. But if you let the wrong person mishandle it, it burns out, or worse, it burns you. And once you're drained, once you've lost that fire, it's incredibly hard to feel whole again. That's why guarding it is so important. It's not just about keeping a man in check, it's about keeping yourself healthy. And here's the part men notice: when you don't overextend yourself emotionally, when you hold that balance, you actually become more attractive. Because mystery creates respect. He knows you care, but he also knows you're not going to bleed yourself dry to prove it. That makes him step in, step up, and start giving back, because he sees that your emotional presence is valuable and he doesn't want to lose it. When you stop pouring endlessly into someone who gives you nothing back, you don't just protect your heart, you raise your worth. And a man who sees that will either rise to meet your energy or fall away because he was never capable of it in the first place. Standards are not about being picky, they're about being clear. They are the invisible lines that define how you expect to be treated, and without them, you leave the door wide open for disrespect. Here's the reality: a man will only rise as high as the bar you set. If your standards are low, if you're constantly compromising just to keep him around, he has no reason to grow, no reason to step up, no reason to give you his best. But when you hold firm to your standards, when you make it clear that you know exactly what you want and what you won't accept, that's when he has to decide: either elevate himself to meet you or fall away because he can't. The mistake so many people make is thinking they have to argue their standards. They think they have to explain, justify, or convince someone why they deserve certain treatment. But standards are not up for debate. You don't explain them, you enforce them. If you have to beg a man to treat you with respect, to be consistent, to communicate, or to show up the way he should, then he's already showing you he doesn't value you enough. And if you drop your standards just to hold on to him, you're really saying you value him more than you value yourself. That's where so many lose respect. Not because they don't have standards, but because they don't stand on them. Think about it. When you walk into a store and see a price tag, you either pay the price or you leave it on the shelf. You don't argue with the store about lowering the price just because you want it. That's how your standards should work. You set them, and he either pays the cost through his actions, or he doesn't get access to you. And if a man complains about your standards, it's not because they're too high, it's because he doesn't want to pay the price. Now, here's where it gets powerful: a man who's serious about you will respect your standards. He might not always like them, but he will respect them. Because deep down, he knows that anything worth having requires effort. Men are wired to rise to a challenge, and when you have standards, you're giving him something to rise to. Without them, there's no challenge, no value, nothing to strive for. That's why boundaries and standards go hand in hand. They separate the ones who are playing from the ones who are serious. And don't mistake standards for walls. Having standards doesn't mean you're unapproachable, it means you're intentional. It means you've done the inner work to know what you need and you refuse to settle for less. And that kind of clarity is attractive because it communicates strength. When you're clear, when you're steady, when you're not bending every time someone tests you, a man realizes he can't take shortcuts with you. He has to show up right or not at all. The truth is, lowering your standards never makes someone love you more. It only makes them respect you less. Because if you're willing to compromise on the very things that define your worth, then what you're telling him is that your boundaries are negotiable. And once a man knows that, he will keep pushing, keep testing, until there's nothing left of the line you originally drew. But when you hold your ground, when you refuse to apologize for expecting respect, consistency, honesty, and effort, something changes. He doesn't just see you as another option. He sees you as the standard. He knows that if he loses you, he won't easily replace you, because not everyone carries themselves with that kind of strength. You don't have to argue your standards. You don't have to lower them. You don't have to explain them. You just live them, and the right man will respect them, while the wrong one will disqualify himself. Accountability is one of the strongest forms of respect you can ever demand in a relationship, because it separates a man who is serious from a man who is careless. Too many times, people confuse love with excuses. They let their feelings blind them to repeated patterns, so they start justifying behavior that should never have been tolerated in the first place. He didn't mean it. He was just stressed. He'll do better next time. But the truth is, if you keep excusing him, he has no reason to change. Accountability isn't about punishing someone. It's about requiring them to own their actions, their words, and the effect they have on you. And a man who refuses accountability is a man who will never respect you. Think about it. When someone can consistently hurt you, disappoint you, or break promises without facing consequences, why would they ever take you seriously? Why would they suddenly wake up and decide to give you their best when you've already shown them that their worst is acceptable? Accountability teaches people where the line is. It shows them that while mistakes may happen, repeated patterns will not be tolerated. And when a man sees that you're not afraid to call out disrespect, when he realizes you won't sweep issues under the rug just to keep the peace, he respects that because he knows you respect yourself. Now, accountability isn't about nagging, blaming, or constantly pointing fingers. It's about consistency. If you say you expect honesty, then dishonesty cannot be brushed aside. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect, then you can't laugh it off when he crosses the line. Every time you let him slide, you weaken your own boundary. But every time you hold him accountable, you strengthen it. And the truth is, a good man appreciates accountability. He may not like it in the moment, but he'll respect it because it pushes him to be better. Here's the hard part. Sometimes holding a man accountable means risking the relationship. Sometimes it means he walks away because he doesn't want to step up. And that's scary, but it's also necessary. Because if the only way to keep someone is to accept less than you deserve, then you're not in a relationship, you're in a compromise of your own self-worth. The right man won't leave because you asked him to be consistent, to follow through, to honor his word. The wrong man will. And that's how accountability filters out who's really for you and who's just convenient. And let me tell you something. When a man knows you hold people accountable, he moves differently with you. He thinks twice before making promises he can't keep. He chooses his words more carefully because he knows you don't forget them. He takes ownership of his actions because he understands that blaming, denying, or avoiding won't work on you. That's when respect deepens because he knows your love isn't blind. It's clear, it's strong, and it demands responsibility. What you have to remember is this: accountability doesn't push people away, it reveals them. A man who truly cares will accept it, adjust, and grow. A man who doesn't will resist it, deflect, or leave. Either way, you win, because you either gain respect within the relationship or you gain freedom from someone who never valued you in the first place. So stop excusing, stop explaining, stop carrying the weight of someone else's actions on your back. If a man wants you in his life, he must be accountable for the role he plays in it, because accountability is not optional, it's the price of respect. The most powerful boundary you will ever set is the ability to walk away when respect is no longer present. That single decision speaks louder than any words you could ever say, because you can talk about your standards all day, you can demand accountability, you can ask for better, but if you stay when none of those things are being honored, then your words lose their weight. Walking away is the action that proves you mean what you say. It shows a man that your self-respect is not negotiable, and that his access to you is a privilege, not a right. See, people test limits. It's human nature. And a man will test to see how much you're willing to tolerate. He'll push to see if your boundaries are just talk or if they're real. And the moment he realizes you'll stay no matter how poorly he treats you, that's the moment he stops respecting you. It's not even always intentional. It's just how it works. But when he knows that disrespect is the one thing you will not stick around for, that changes everything. That knowledge makes him value your presence more because he knows it can be lost. Walking away isn't about punishing him, it's about protecting you. It's about recognizing that your peace, your dignity, and your self-worth are more important than holding on to someone who refuses to treat you right. And yes, it's hard. Walking away is one of the hardest things you'll ever do because your heart will try to convince you to stay just one more time, to give one more chance, to hope for one more change. But deep down, you already know, if you've reached the point where respect is gone, there's nothing left to fight for. The irony is, walking away often makes a man respect you more than staying ever did. Because now he sees that you can't be manipulated with sweet words, temporary fixes, or empty promises. He sees that you're not afraid to choose yourself over him. And that kind of strength leaves an impact. Even if he doesn't change, even if he never comes back, he'll remember the one who had the courage to walk instead of settling for less. And here's the truth, if you never learn to walk away, you'll always end up settling. You'll spend years shrinking yourself, silencing yourself, trying to keep a relationship alive that's already dead. But when you walk away, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that you are not defined by who stays or who leaves. You're defined by the respect you demand for yourself. It's not about being cold. It's not about being heartless. It's about saying, I love myself too much to stay in a place where I am not honored. And when you live by that, something shifts inside you. You stop fearing loss because you realize that losing someone who disrespects you is not really a loss. It's a gain. You gain clarity, peace, strength, and room for the right person to enter your life. Walking away is not weakness. Walking away is strength. It's proof that you are willing to stand alone rather than be mistreated. And the man who sees that will either rise to treat you better or he'll remove himself because he can't. Either way, you win. A man values most what he knows he could lose. And nothing earns more respect than the strength to walk away.